Welcome to the Making of Me podcasts, where we explore the stories of resilience, reinvention, and personal transformation. Our today's guest is Joshua Dvorkin, a psychotherapist, reclaimer, coach, and founder of Headway Mental Health. Joshua's work focuses on helping people reclaim their stories, rebuild identity, and align with their authentic self, especially after trauma, illness, or life-altering event. Joshua's story is an extraordinary. At 29, he suffered a traumatic spinal cord injury that left him paralyzed from the chest down. Our doctor predicted a life of dependency, yet Joshua chose to redefine his reality through rehabilitation, determination, and belief in possibility. He is not only uh, regain independence, but also turn his experience into platform to guide others through adversity. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show, Joshua.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, thank you. So, Joshua, what was some about the moment or challenges that shape you into who you have become today?
So I guess I'll start at the beginning and then I'll go to I think the pinnacle moment for me. So it was November 4th and I was sitting on my balcony getting ready for work. And so I have epilepsy and I started feeling kind of funny and I had a seizure and I fell off my balcony. I guess it was maybe 6 feet. I landed on my head. I broke my neck. So I lost my ability to walk. I was in intensive care in the hospital on a ventilator, unable to breathe for 3.5 months. And the doctor came in and he told me, you're never going to be able to breathe on your own, and you're never going to be able to eat on your own, and you're never going to be able to live on your own. I said to the doctor, so I couldn't speak at the time, so I was pointing on this letterboard, so I was spelling things out. And I said, listen, I said, mark my words, I said, 10 days from today, I'm going to be off the ventilator and speaking. And 10 days from that day, I was speaking and I was off the ventilator. So at that point, I
Wow.
was like, wow, the mind has got to be like such a powerful thing, right? So that and the fact that there wasn't really a lot of help for people going through my experience like therapy wise. So those two things in combination together are kind of what led me to become a psychotherapist.
Wow, that was really more like amazing. The fact that despite the doctor prognosis, you are still determined that yes, just intend this time and see I'm going to talk. And that was really a whole lot. Of when that actually happened, when the doctor actually more like make the prognosis out that you now be able to talk, what inner belief helped you to defy that particular prognosis?
I think like at first, I don't think it was as easy as that really. I think at first I was like, very depressed, and I definitely had the outlook that my life was over, and I don't know how I can do this, but I had like the support of my family. My brother was there, and he just pointed out to me, he's like, unless you kind of like pull your stuff and your resources together, he's like, you're gonna lose everything you've ever had, right? Because I was in pretty rough shape physically and I think emotionally as well, because I depend on people to do a lot of things for me now. And I never really realized what a control freak I was until, you don't have control of things anymore, right? So, but the main thing I realized is I still had control of my mind, which really, when it comes down to it, the mind controls almost everything, right? So I think our
Yeah.
state of mind is so important, so when I started to see the opportunities and possibilities that, lie ahead of me, they might have been a little bit different maybe than what I had planned on, but there were still so many opportunities and possibilities that, aligned with my kind of ideas of what I wanted to be and what type of person I am. So, yeah, I mean, people often ask me, would you go back if you had the opportunity and you could walk again? You know, really, I don't think I would because I've accomplished a lot more since my accident.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunities to do a lot more things. I think it's given me a different perspective on life in general, allowed me to, like, I think, approach things with much more grace. and appreciation.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Joshua.
You know,
So you talk about resilience without romanticizing.
yeah,
What does it mean, and how does it shape your approach with clients?
yeah, absolutely. So I just think like a lot of people when they go through a traumatic experience, the idea of resilience is to kind of just like smile and, suck it up and go through it and just you have to be okay because that's what life expects, right? But I think the key thing for me is it's okay not to be okay, and I think that it's really important for people to process and bring those parts of them that maybe are a little bit damaged and integrate them in who they are because it's part of who they are, right? And I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing because I think it gives them a unique perspective that other people don't have, right? So then they have, an ability or a way of seeing things that could be of use to people, right? That other people might not have experienced.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Joshua.
Yeah.
So how did your life experience of disability and recovery influence the way you practice psychotherapy and coaching?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the relationship that I experience with my clients, I mean, I can't say this for sure, but I would assume that it would be different. I think a lot of my clients have expressed to me that are like, okay, this guy, he's obviously been through some stuff as well. So if
Yeah.
he's been able to like go through this really serious stuff and come out okay on the other side, then maybe, he has some ideas or something that he could teach me, that in combination with his education might be more value than of just what, somebody who hasn't been through the experience. And I think that would go the same probably with anything, right? I mean, if you have somebody who's in treatment for drug and alcohol dependence, then you might have a therapist who, in their history had drug and alcohol dependence and has overcome it and been through a 12-step program and knows what it's all about, right? So they can kind of prepare you and things like that.
So what is reclamation coaching, and how does it differ from traditional therapy or coaching approach?
Yeah, sure. So specifically, I mean, I use psychotherapy and reclamation coaching together. So what I do with that is I get together with people, a lot of entrepreneurs specifically, who are like navigating either disability, whether it be hidden or something you can see, whether it be a chronic health condition, and these people are used to, being able to do things and, have a lot of control in their lives. And, all of a sudden when you're throwing a curveball and you lose everything you have, you often really lose, often your identity. You can't really, identify who you are anymore. So, what I do is I help people reclaim their stories, see opportunities and new possibilities. But I think it's really important, that we look at these people's values and their beliefs and we find things that they could do that align with their values and beliefs, or maybe they could still do the same thing, but get some help for some people in other places where they can't do things. So maybe they could learn to delegate a little bit, right? So we just problem solve basically and work, new disciplines or ways of being so that they can still, live their dream life at the same time as having whatever condition they might have, right? Or
Yeah, amazing.
as close to their dream life as possible, right? Sometimes we
Yeah,
just
thank
have
you.
we just have situations we can't help, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you for the whole of it. I respect of that. So how can someone reclaim their stories after a life-altering event without feeling overwhelmed or lost?
Yeah, so I think it's a process, right? So it's a process of regulating your nervous system, learning how to relax, getting proper sleep, proper nourishment. It starts with basic things, right? And then, you're going to be looking at doing exercises of looking at, really what you value, where your belief systems lie, what you enjoy doing. I would, look at the person's family life, their history, and from there we would develop an action plan, and just basically develop day to day routines. I mean, starting with, instilling one step at a time, right? Because I think if you start to instill too many steps, people can often lose their footing, and they fall backwards, which is can often upset the whole process, right? Because people have been so traumatized already that, having to start from the beginning again can often, set people back. So yeah, we just move really slowly, um, and develop people's kind of life from the beginning all over again.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, difficult to start again after more like just for that. And yeah, it's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on how you help them. So how is your personal journey influence your work with professional facing illness or major life transition?
I mean, this year I had an amazing experience. Or actually, it was last year. I got a phone call from a film writer, his production house, and they were like, we're looking for
Yeah,
somebody who can consult on our film as a mental health consultant. And he's a two-time Emmy Award-winning composer, and this is his first time writing a film. And the film actually got shortlisted for an Oscar at the Academy Awards. So that's kind of exciting.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'll find out. I'll find out soon. So that was a lot of fun. I mean, I just find I really enjoy, talking to people and just opening up doors for people that they didn't know were there before.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it
Thank you so
doesn't
much,
work to
Joshua.
me so much, right? It doesn't seem like work so much, which is really great. I actually like really love it. So
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So Joshua, what is the single most important lessons you want listeners to take from your stories about possibility, identity, and resilience?
say that again. Sorry.
What is the single most important lesson you want listeners to take from your stories about possibility, identity, and resilience?
Yeah, anything is possible. I think the key thing to remember is no matter what happens today, you can recreate whatever you want tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is
Mm,
always another day, right? So people often get so stuck in the way things are, but just because the way things are right this second, change can happen so quickly, right?
yeah,
And you can be that catalyst, right? That's what each of us has in us is the ability to change, right? So yeah, just ponder on that. I mean, if you want, there's a little tool. So if you go to my Instagram, it's headway.mental.health. You can follow me if you want. You don't have to. But if you direct message me the letters and number 7 and then the word day, all one word, so 7 day, you'll get a document forward to you. It's how to stop negative thinking in 7 days. So for any negative thinkers or anybody who has problems with anxiety and depression, this might help you out.
yeah. Thank you so much,
You're
Joshua.
welcome.
So Joshua, from our audience who would love to connect with you, who would love to listen on to you, your resources and the materials you have all for coaching section, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
Sure. I guess the best way is through my website, which would be www.headwaymentalhealth.com. It's got all my social media accounts. You can book a complimentary consultation. It's got a 45-page workbook you can download. It's got all sorts of things there. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joshua. Your story is to prove that even in the most challenging circumstance, we can reclaim our agency, rewrite our narrative, find purpose. Your approach blends life experience with professional insight, guiding others to transform adversity into opportunity. Yeah, it's really a pleasure having you on the show, Joshua. And from our audience who would love to reach out to Joshua, definitely the link to his website is going to be on the show notes so that you can easily reach out to him. Once again, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on the show.
The pleasure was all mine, Arrow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.